US President Donald Trump is expected to sign the bill ordering the Justice Department to release its files on the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The bill was swiftly approved in both chambers of US Congress in a rare display of bipartisan unity. Epstein's victims have welcomed the development, saying there's no reason to delay the release any further.
Immediately and without a vote, senators approved the full release of the Epstein files.
Jeffrey Epstein's victims have waited long enough. Let the truth come out.
It came shortly after the House of Representatives passed it with an overwhelming majority.
The yeas are 427, the nays are 1.
As survivors celebrated.
I was 16,
17,
14 years old.
The brother of one of Epstein's most outspoken victims said there's no reason to delay the release any further.
If the king can strip his own brother of his titles, the American president can release these files.
The bill raced through Congress after Donald Trump made a U-turn following months of vehement opposition to the release. The affair has dented President's public approval, now at its lowest since the re-election. Mr. Trump insisted he had nothing to do with the late sex offender.
I threw him out of my club many years ago because I thought he was a sick pervert. But I guess I turned out to be right. But you know who does have? Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, who ran Harvard, was with him every single night, every single weekend.
Harvard University said it will investigate ex-President Larry Summers' ties to disgraced financier. Even after Mr. Trump's approval, the full disclosure of the Epstein files is not a straightforward matter.
We have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law.
Some of the material could be withheld by the Justice Department if tied up in ongoing investigations. Tanya Royd, RT News.
More on this now from our Washington correspondent Sean Whelan. Sean, the fallout from the release of these files is continuing today, with Larry Summers today resigning from his role with OpenAI.
That's right. Larry Summers, best known, I guess, for being Bill Clinton's former Treasury Secretary for a couple of years. He'd also been the chief economist at the World Bank here in Washington. And he left the Clinton administration to become the president of Harvard. So he's a very well-known, internationally renowned economist, but he was involved in correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein. Never went to the island, and as far as we know, has had no allegations made against him of having women trafficked to him or anything like that. But the emails that emerged last week showed that he'd been texting and emailing with Epstein between 2018 and 2019, just before Epstein was arrested and brought into custody for his latest battle, his final battle with the federal authorities, indeed. And he was asking Epstein's advice on how he might go about setting up dates with a lady that he was apparently supervising, a student, a PhD student at Harvard University. The university has announced its own investigation of Summers' activities and others on the university staff that were mentioned in these emails. He's also been fired as a columnist at the New York Times. The fallout, as you say, continues. There were rows in Congress last night about people who've been also mentioned in some of these emails. A delegate from the Virgin Islands, non-voting member of Congress, narrowly escaped a censure motion simply because one of her constituents at the time, Jeffrey Epstein, had started texting her when she was conducting questions at a House Oversight Committee. So this goes on and on and on. And these people, as I say, they have not been named as being involved in any of the sex allegations involving sex trafficking of Jeffrey Epstein yet. Just any kind of a mention for anybody in the Epstein files is causing them trouble.
Washington correspondent Sean Whelan, thank you.
Returning now to the US and that Congress vote to release the Epstein files. We're joined by Mary Jordan, a Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist and associate editor with The Washington Post. Mary, so much drama, so much talk about these files. We now have the vote, but that resolution states that the Department of Justice can withhold something if they fear it's sensitive or might involve an ongoing investigation. So is there a danger here that maybe we won't get a lot of information and people might be left disappointed?
Well, that's the concern. But I would say that the hope
is that because there's so many Republicans who really want this information to come out and who are upset. This is the big news about the Epstein files, is that the rank and file in the Republican Party, Donald Trump's party, for the very first time is breaking with him on this. I mean, he had an iron grip on Congress. And even though the top officials at the Justice Department that are going to control the unveiling of these are certainly still with Trump, all it takes is one person to say, hey, look at this page. And so we'll see. And, you know, what it really does and what is most upsetting to Donald Trump is it gives air to the scandal. And every day, there's more information and more talk about it. And it doesn't help Donald Trump.
Talk to us about that breaking with the rank and file, and particularly Marjorie Taylor Greene, this representative that was his biggest ally on Capitol Hill. He called her a traitor. They had this massive falling out. OK, things look like they've been repaired for now, but have they been? And will that split be hard to fix?
Yes. I think it's a watershed moment. I mean, don't count Donald Trump out for sure. But it just means that before, if you were a Republican in his party, you feared him. You didn't go against him. But there is the beginning of a feeling that now he's in his second term. By the Constitution, he can't run again. And there's just a feeling that some of the wind is out of the sail. And he's not a lame duck yet. He's not supposed to be able to run again. But this is put a dent in him. And so it is a remarkable moment.
Now, a few days ago, when a journalist tried to ask Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein, he retorted in the most awful way and said, "Quiet piggy." I mean, it certainly has generated a huge backlash. What's the sense over there in the US? We're used to Donald Trump speaking in terrible ways to journalists, but is this seen as extreme even for him?
Yes. Every time he's asked a question, like a reasonable question about, why did you change your mind about releasing the files? Something like that. He attacks the messenger in an ugly way, certainly not a presidential way. And you can see that he's more tired. He's upset. Nobody knows what's going on, but it just feels like, why is he going to such length to, hide these? I mean, the members of Congress were just saying, we want to be transparent. And so everybody has questions, and you can just see the seething frustration of Trump because every time the word Epstein comes up, he snaps and he says remarkable things for a president. To call a young woman reporter piggy. I mean, people used to say that they wanted their kid to grow up to be like the president. What do you do with something like that?
Mary Jordan, Associate Editor with The Washington Post, thank you very much for joining us this evening.